Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at CCP's latest announcement, which is the dynamic bounty system designed for nullsec and curbing the amount of ISK coming out of there. So I'm not going to read through the article. I will link the article in the below description for anybody who wants to read it, but basically the general gist is that anybody ratting in a system or doing anomalies there will be a bounty payment, and as you can see here it says 100%, and that will be a sliding scale. So the more ratting or anomalies etc that are done in one system, the lower that percentage payout for the bounties will be. So the more ratting that's done in a system, the lower the bounty payment will go down and down and down, and the less ratting, the more it will go up to 100% payout. And this is to encourage people to spread out from the major ratting areas. So if an alliance holds a decent amount of space, quite often there are huge expanses which are completely useless or not used at all, and this is to try and encourage more use of the space. So that 100% can also go up. Now I think the idea there is that if you are killing players etc, if it's a hostile system, then the more dangerous the space, the higher the bounty payout is. And as we can see here, every solar system now has an ever-changing bounty multiplier which is applied to the bounty payout earned in a system. As an example, if a solar system multiplier is 110% and you kill a pirate at 100,000 ISK, then basically you'll get 110,000 ISK. However, some of that will be captured by the revamped encounter system, the ESS, which you'll hear about more in the coming weeks. So as I said, the general gist here is to get people to spread out over multiple systems instead of all being congregated in or around high population areas. And I think the general idea of this is that it will cause more destruction. If you've ever done any small gang roaming PvP, then generally the space that you go through is dead until you get to an overpopulated area. And if you are lucky enough to catch anything that is large, then obviously they have a lot of dudes in system that can come and give them assistance, where if you are spread over a wider area, obviously that's going to be a lot harder to do. And towards the bottom of the article it basically says pretty much the same thing: spreading the income generation across New Eden and moving away from the massive ratting hubs supported by very concentrated infrastructure will create movement and more conflict. Empires will be stretched thinner, guaranteed protection will come at a more tangible cost. This will ultimately determine how much space is necessary to support income generated based on individual organisation sizes and requirements. Conclusion: abundance breeds complacency and scarcity breeds war. So I think CCP are looking at this from three different angles. One of them is obviously the cost for maintaining the infrastructure, the extra stations, the antiplexes, the fuel, etc. will obviously cost supporting money from the alliances. Added destruction from hopefully people going out and roaming, obviously catching people off guard, less people to come and save them, more moving between systems. Again, people moving around constantly will cause more people to get caught, killed, which equals more destruction. And thirdly, they are trying to decrease the single biggest ISK facet within EVE Online. And as you can see here in August, we have 52.1 trillion ISK from bounty payouts. And because I'm a little sad, I decided to go troll through some of the older economic reports. So in August 2020, currently, we're at 52 trillion. However, in January 2020, it was only 46 million. And in May 2020, it had gone up to 46 million. So at the moment that is going up and up, which is not what CCP wants. They're trying to make it go down because again they're trying to balance the books. If you look here, faucets versus sinks, there's more money coming into the system every quarter, month, week, day, and there's less going out. So there's only 84 trillion going out versus 104 trillion coming in. And over time, if that's left unchecked, then basically you will get inflation. Everything will start to cost more because everybody has more ISK. And as EVE is generally an economic game, when all said and done, all the economics underpin pretty much everything that goes on in the game. Keeping this balanced is very important to the game's health. And so by adding the dynamic bounty system and obviously decreasing rewards, hopefully CCP is probably hoping to to get that figure back down, and again that will start to balance the books a little bit more. But it'll be quite interesting to see the change that this is going to have. I imagine initially it could be quite dramatic, depending on obviously how long it takes for the bounties to change, or the system to change in regards to the amount of ratting that's being done. So is it good or bad for the game? Well, for an economic standpoint, it's definitely good for the game. From a player standpoint, from anybody that is in null that relies on bounties to make their ISK, then this figure is very, very likely to drop. And obviously when people have less ISK in their pockets and aren't feeling as flush, or don't have as an easy way of making that ISK back, then people are less inclined to be risky with the assets that they have. So less running around shooting stuff or Leroying into camps, etc., to try and break them up, because obviously making the ISK back becomes harder, and that therefore discourages people from taking unnecessary risks. So on one hand you'll get more destruction from obviously people moving around, but you'll get less destruction from people wanting to go in PvP or risk their own ships in battle due to the risk of it being destroyed. So less is coming into the system. That potentially may have an effect on Plex, pushing the price down because people haven't got as much money to spend or ISK to spend on in-game items. And therefore that will have a depreciating effect on Plex, which again, it has been rising steadily for the last couple of months, up from its it was generally, again, around about 2.5 million ISK, and that has been on the rise now, slowly but steadily. So as it currently stands, I don't think CCP is looking or has any real gripes with the Plex market and its current state. I don't think they're doing this to try and drive the price back down. I think they're looking at the overall health of the game, and I don't think Plex all in all mirrors that greatly at the moment. As we see, we've been much higher in the past. It's been low for the last several months actually, which has been good and bad, buying and selling, etc. But I don't think CCP is doing this change to try and drive down prices of Plex. And all in all, I think it's generally for the health of the economy, all in all, that they are doing this change. So watch this space. It'll be interesting to see how this evolves, what we're going to do to try and limit abuse, because again, by destroying other players' ships or players' ships in the system means that obviously the index will go up, so you'll be being paid out more. Now, how are they going to manage that? Because again, you could take X amount of alts, shoot 500 shuttles, and if that increases the index, then you'll have people just gaming the system and acquiring even more bounty payouts than what they currently have. It'll be interesting to see what CCP is going to do with the ESS and how they intend to implement that, and whether that will have any significant change of the bounties, etc., or where that ISK goes. As they said, they'll be taking a slight cut of it, and again, where that goes is anybody's guess at this time, but that shouldn't be long before they're rolling that out. So within the next week, this will be available to test on the test server and then being rolled out to the main server within the month, I do believe. Now, obviously, interesting times for all of nullsec with the WWB2 going on at the moment. Obviously, that's burning through resources, etc., and everything else that's going on. There's a lot of changes. The changes to the bubbles, if anybody hasn't read it, they announced yesterday that they will be changing interdiction bubbles, that now they will have a a webbing bubble, which will reduce speeds by 30%. Now, I haven't covered that due to this being more of an economic channel, and I don't think all in all that will have a huge impact, but again, unintended consequences, new changes, etc. Very exciting. Lots going on in New Eden at the moment. So I think we'll leave this video there for the time being. I hope that was informative. I hope you got something from that. And again, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're a nullsec ratter, etc., I'd love to know how you feel about this. I should imagine not particularly happy. Or do you think it is a good thing that obviously this change, you know, potentially could make you more ISK if you are willing to go outside the main ratting areas Anybody wanting to take less risk obviously will suffer the consequences. So yeah, let us know in the comments whether you believe this is a good or bad change for EVE all in all. So if you made it this far into the video and you haven't subscribed already, then please do think about it. I do cover a whole vast range of financial ways of making ISK, from industry, manufacturing, etc. Check out some of my older videos to see ways of making ISK within the game, which may become more required now that it is harder to make it from ratting. And with that, hope you enjoyed that. Fly safe. Talk to you again soon.